Okay, I guess we'll get started. Well, welcome everybody. This is going to be a fun presentation because there was a sign out front that said coffee break, and there's no coffee, so screw it. We all came in here, right? All right, let's do this. Let me tell you a little bit about myself because about me and what we're doing at the University of Oklahoma has to connect to what we're doing today. So it's going to have to all make sense. So graduated from the university. I was one of those typical kids that they were just talking about, sitting in the big classroom. If I ever went, never was good in math and science and things like that. So I got my degree in criminal justice. Didn't want to get shot at, so I thought I would go into retail. Yeah, exactly. So it was spent my time bouncing around and big box retail, things like that. And so I wanted to get out and came to the university. And so I was working in the IT department and doing contracts, negotiations, RFPs, the most exciting stuff that you could possibly think of, right? And then one day our AVP at the time said, "David, I want to open up a retail store." And I said, "Okay." And I kept my head down as long as I possibly could, but she said, I just want to be able to get technology in the hands of students. I said, "Okay." So they gave me some money, and this is all IT stuff, right? Gave me some money and said, "Just make it look good." So we opened up a technology store. And we opened it up at the right time whenever Apple had invented this thing called an iPod, that you could put music in your back pocket. And you could, listen to a little Van Halen while you're cruising the streets of Norman, Oklahoma, or whatever it is you wanted to do, right? Hi. Oh, I thought, well, when I said Van Halen, I figured you were like, hey, all right. David Lee Roth, no Sammy Hagar. So, told you we're going to have some fun. So, I just either blacked out or had a stroke. I don't know which because... So anyway, we opened up this technology store, right? And we sold a lot of stuff. And we sold a ton of stuff. So much that our CFO came in and said, "Congratulations on your auxiliary account." I said, "What the heck is that?" "Well, that means you're making too much money. You got too much emphasis on what you're doing, right?" And we were just delivering technology to students. They could buy a computer. They could buy an iPod. They could buy a cable. They could buy a case. We just made this splash on campus. And then this little company out of California called me one day by the name of Apple and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to come work for us." I said, "Well, it seems like a stable company, good stock options, things like that." So I went to work for them, and I covered the states of Oklahoma, Texas, through Florida, the Mid-Atlantic, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then I was, by the grace of God, picked up the state of Utah. So I traveled around, and I went to all these higher education institutions and visited their campus stores. And so it was just helping students, faculty, staff, talking to presidents, talking to provosts, whomever about technology and how they could deliver to the students and things like that. And so one day I got a call back from the University of Oklahoma, and the account executive said, "Hey, we want to open up a second campus technology store." And I said politely, "Why in the hell would you want to do that? You've already got one." And they said, "Well, this isn't going to be your traditional campus store. What we want to do is we want to build the campus store of the future." And I said, "What does this campus store of the future mean?" And so our executive vice president basically told me, in a long story short, he said, "I want to be able to have a space where kids can get their hands on these emerging technologies. Students, faculty, staff, alumni, people going to the football games, to just anybody that just wanted to come on campus. But at the same time, we knew we had to sell technology as the gimmick to get people to come in to see those emerging technologies, or vice versa. See the emerging technologies and then come in and also buy things." So it was a little bit of a trick and things like that. So what we came up with was we designed this idea called One University Store. It's around our digital initiative that our president had started about 2-3 years ago, and basically the mission of the digital initiative was to drive down the cost of education. Now that could mean digital textbooks. It could mean turning off the lights by 5. Whatever. We all have those moments where we said that we're going to drive down the cost of education. Well, what does that mean? It could mean anything to anybody at the time. So what we wanted to do was build a space that was part of that initiative. So I'm going to show you a little bit about it. Got some videos because you don't want to hear me talking all the time. But let me just go ahead and get started with the first one.
This is more than a project, more than a headline. These are more than your typical faculty. And these are definitely more than your typical students. This is the University of Oklahoma, and we are leading the way for a new future in higher education through the One University Digital Initiative. It's about saving students money, enhancing the learning experience, opening educational content to the world, and building the OU community. One University is enhancing the OU experience through new innovative technologies and digital tools. Students can now save over $400 a year on textbooks by using free or inexpensive digital options. New innovative free textbooks and faculty-created iBooks are transforming the costs of education. However, it's more than just saving money. These books offer a digital world brought to life with videos, 3D models, and much more. Engaging content should be shared. Through iTunes U, OU educational content is seen by over 500,000 people a year in over 140 countries. From freedom to weather, OU faculty are educating the world. And through the One University store, the future is within reach, with the most bleeding-edge technology in one place to dream, design, and create. This is a store like no other. Augmented reality, 3D printing, and Google Liquid Galaxy put the tools of the future in the hands of our extraordinary students. The OU community reaches far beyond the arches, and through One University, new, stronger connections are being made. Change, impact, and kickstart new innovations within OU through the Imagine OU feature in the new mobile app. Combining love for education with leading-edge technology, OU is excited to share the One University experience. The University of Oklahoma, shaping the future of education.
The best part about that video is I wish I had drank a lot of whiskey and smoked cigarettes so I could talk like that guy, because that voice is just, I love it. So to kind of tell you that's why I left Apple, was because at the time our Vice President for Technology, or CIO, excuse me, and our Executive Vice President said, this is what we want to build. And I said, you got it. Let's do this. Basically, I said, we had, to kind of jump around for a second, somebody had asked me from the School of Business, said, what's your vision? What's your mission plan? I said, we don't have one. He said, well, then you don't know what you're doing. I said, well, if I had one, then we would not, what we would end up doing is pigeonholing ourselves into something that we did not want to be or thought we should be. I can't write a business plan. I'm the worst person on writing a business case because I feel that if you do that, that's what you do, is you say, well, this is exactly what we're going to do. And one of my colleagues is here with me, actually two of them. I didn't bring them both with me. One of them just showed up. But the other one that came with me, every day we walk in and we say, what are we going to do today? What's different about today that was not done yesterday, or what are we going to do this week, or what if, or what about? And sometimes I consider myself the daddy Warbucks, so I just keep throwing money at him and things like that. So to tell you a little bit more about it, part of our mission statement is it's to inspire and drive creative innovation through the One University Digital Initiative at OU in the state of Oklahoma. And that's really what it is. So,
the One University store is a very special place on campus. It's a store, but there's much more than just things to buy. It's a playground where you can enter and be inspired. I mean, as a student, we all hear about special technologies on campus we don't have access to, but we hope to change that. You come to the Union, where students always are, and the One University store has brought all of this technologies to us to explore and dream up a new project or even business idea. It's crazy. I can walk in here and play with Elite Motion. It's amazing. We even have 3D printers. I never expected to see one working in real life. With Google Liquid Galaxy, I can fly from under the sea to space and even the moon and Mars. There's a huge interactive TV that tells the One University story, and we show off other OU educational content available to the world through iTunes U and iBooks. With all this innovation and technology at the One University store, what will campus be inspired to create?
So like I said, when we opened up the space, we took an existing bookstore that was probably been there for 60 years, Robert, somewhere around there. People would come in and they said, hey, I used to buy my books in the basement. And I said, hey, we've got computers down there now, things like that. And so we did. We opened up a store that was part technology playground, part retail store. Like I said, we had to have both gimmicks, right? We have two 103-inch touch interactive TVs. It took 10 construction workers and two car jacks to hang it on the wall. And what we did was we wanted to do something different with that. So we challenged the students, we challenged some of the staff to figure out how to design a word wall. So when you walked up to it, you could touch a word, they could say inspire, and it could have a video of our first president, with some background music talking about what the university was supposed to be and things like that. There's so many stories to tell about it. I don't really even have a clear vision of how to even tell you the story because so much happens in here every day. So part of it also is we've got a huge 3D printing space in the store. We did the typical thing. We wanted to get into 3D printing, so we bought one. We did the next typical guy thing is we threw the instructions away. And because they got in the way of getting to the toy and all that stuff, right? So we opened it up, made our first little printed 3D chess or something, chess piece, something like that. Thought we had found water, couldn't make another damn thing to save our lives. So we went back and got the instructions and realized that it was even harder. And so what happened is one of our business professors came to me, he was a friend of mine, and he said, hey, I want to get into 3D printing. And I said, I got a perfect 3D printer for you. So I went and got the one that we had boxed up and put in the basement and gave it to him. And I said, I want you to go ahead and have fun with it, figure out what you want to do with it, things like that. So it took him about 6 months, and he finally got to 3D printing things at a pace and things like that. Inspired him so much that he wrote a grant, got some 3D printers, and brought him into his product development course in the School of Business. And we're not talking about engineering because engineering is too much of a black and white world. You bring a yellow personality in the room like me and it just never happens. But in the School of Business, he was able to tell those stories of product development instead of we all know the people who bought $20,000 worth of stuff and put it in their garage and then tried to sell it and then they lost their savings and everything else. And so went to his classroom and he was telling his students about the fact that you can make prototypes, sell the prototype, change the prototype. And so it moved that College of Business into a different direction rather than possibly macro or microeconomics or topics along those lines. So it opened up that to where we also took in some 3D printers and put them in their labs. So now that lab that they were just talking about earlier is not so much just a computer or a printer, but it's also 3D printers and where the students can go in and use them. In the beginning when we were doing our 3D printing, and right now we're probably up to 8 3D printers in this space, we started where we were just making trinkets and trash, right? We were just having fun, just making things. And it was awesome because students were able to come by, faculty, staff. We had the director of our supercomputer who was wanting to do some kind of modeling around servers and all this other kind of, so he was opening up their minds and their ideas because everybody thought that in the beginning of the 3D printing was just about probably making origami doves out of paper and things like that. So we were making a lot of things, just like everybody else does, and then one day, Jordan, who's sitting here with me, works with me, he can attest to it. I said, you know what, the heck with it, let's just open it up. And he said, what do you mean open it up? And I said, well, I found out that the School of Fine Arts charges for the students to bring their own filament, which is about $60. They charge by the time and by the weight for the student to print something. And so we go back to what I'd said before about driving down the cost of education. I said, well, let's just open it up for free. And so all I did was just open up a hornet's nest. Within about 3 hours, Jordan had to create a Google Calendar. We had so many students lined up that wanted to either make something for their desk, make something for their class, just wanted to just try it. They just wanted to experience it on their own. And so what we've come into now is to kind of jump ahead is we probably have now crossed about 450 students since late October who have made an appointment and come in and used one of the 2 to 4 3D printers that we have at that time. But the deal is that I said, the only thing that I said was I said, I'll let anybody print anything that is socially acceptable. And the deal is that we have to train them how to do it, that they just can't come in and drop off the file and leave. And so in this store, we have students who basically run the hen house. We've got students who are in sociology, School of Music, computer science, engineering, teachers. We have every walk of life, every nationality you could possibly think of. But what it did was it got our students to learn how to do 3D printing to teach that person how to do the 3D printing on their own also. The deal is that if you want to take something from a 2D to a 3D image, we show you the free software. We're not going to do it for you, but we want you to be inspired enough to figure out how to do it on your own, bring back the file, we'll print it for you, you come back in 4 to 5, 6 hours, come back the next day, print up your, pick up your device, the item that you printed, and you can go on down the road. And so what it has done is it has really spawned this huge, this huge initiative of people creating on campus. We get a lot of K-12 that comes through. The College of Engineering had a camp over the last week, I guess it was, that their 3D printers failed, and so we had to bail them out. We were kind of like a government project, you know, we bailed them out. They were coming in and 3D printing planes, and the funny thing was is that the professor, her planes kept failing, and our students were teaching the professor why they were failing. And it was this big argument because the professor just knew she was right in the way she had designed it and built it as an aerospace engineering professor, and their students, who is an architect major, is sitting there saying, no, you didn't design it right. And so it really became this internal struggle and things like that. But 3D printing for us has, and I'm not going to lie to you, to myself, I've already reached the peak and I'm on the downhill slide, but then somebody comes in every day and they're just amazed by it. And all we tell them is saying, this is happening on campus. You can't take them to those dingy halls and those dingy classrooms on a campus tour, because when our campus tours come through, I'm competing with all the other colleges around there, but I'm really not, because nobody else is doing it the way we're doing it and the way I'm going to show you. So what we do is we tell them this is happening on campus. This is happening in the classroom. This is happening in here where students can use it for free whenever they want to. So not to beat the dead horse anymore about that, we never talk about selling technology. And we sell millions of dollars worth of technology a year out of our campus store. What we talk about is the fact that there's things that are happening around you, and what is that vehicle to get you there? Is it the iPad that does more than Netflix? Is it the computer that we only use 10%, but if we can just find that 11th percent of it, then we win in the end. We created digital price cards. We originally started by doing Keynote slides, and then a student found a way to crack our Keynote and thought they'd be cute to make iPads for $1 and all that type of stuff. And so I went to Jordan and I kind of threw a fit, and I said, we got to figure out how to write an app. And so we've all been there. We all call the app writers of the world, and when you get to tens and thousands of dollars, Jordan and a couple of the other students there in the store just figured it out by this thing called Google. And they sat down, and so I remember one day I was sitting in this meeting, and it looked like a typical app design place, right? There was a bunch of stoner food in there. There was a bunch of M&Ms and pretzels and drinks, and this is all happening out in the store. And I'll show you some pictures of where it was happening, and because I wanted it to be out where everybody could see it. And I'm in this room, and all of a sudden they just jump up and they start high-fiving and running around, and Jordan's got his laptop and he's running through the store, and I'm grabbing everything I can. I think the place is on fire, and they created this app. But it was at that moment where a student who was in the School of Sociology, wanted to be a computer science major, and a full-time employee all got together and just figured it out on their own. And so that's part of this whole dreaming, designing, creating, and getting students who, the sociology major kid may be, go into his field, but his passion may be writing apps. And where else would he have been able to learn how to do that? And where it's opened up for any student to come in, it doesn't matter if you work there or not. It's also about building communities. We've all got the library problem, right? We've got all these books. Nobody knows what to do with them. Everybody's talking about digital textbooks and all that type of stuff. And so my peer over here, Robert, and I, who've been around the university since 1989, remembers that the lower level of the library where you used to go to pray before a final, or you used to go to study. I was walking by a place on campus the other day, and I did remember this spot. I was like, I remember praying right before that math final right there, thinking, just get me through this. But, so the library at our university is going through this tremendous renovation, and they're building another collaboration type space. We're not in the business to train you how to create an iBook. I'm going to show you how we do iBooks in the store, but then what I do is I say, you need to go to the library. Because the librarians of the future, the way we see it, they're going to be the instructors also that is not happening in the classroom. So the library is going through this huge transformation with collaboration spaces, places. They're going to be doing a place where students can come in and perform music for free, service, support. It's an amazing spot. So really what our mission is to help tell the story of the university in its own way, as it resembles back to the digital initiative. It's also about enhancing these learning opportunities. This is a picture of one of our iPad one-to-one initiatives that happened on campus a couple of years ago with the College of Education. Every student, obviously, we've all heard about one-to-ones, but the one-to-ones are starting to grow more at an alarming rate, let me put it that way. Just over this summer, we're doing deployments right now of about 1,600 iPads. College of Law, every law student will have an iPad, and they will be going through how to become that new attorney of the future. With the digital initiative, we have one of our Sociology 1113 courses is being taught by our dean, who uses OpenStax. We've got College of Journalism that has about 3 courses running around in it, and we know there are more to come. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and it's not anything that you can move the ship within 180 degrees in a year. So we're going at a Titanic pace on turning the ship, but we're moving at a fast rate as we go towards that rock. We do have iTunes U like everybody else, and I'm also going to tell you a little bit about another thing we've designed called Janix. It's based on social media, but it's an online learning platform. We took things we liked from iTunes U, from Coursera, from edX, whatever, and things we didn't like, and we just said, you know what, we want to create our own. And so what it is it's based on where it's more of, like I said, a social media aspect where students can ask questions to the professor, ask students, students can ask students questions, students can ask professor can ask students, and all that type of stuff. But we have them for college credit, we have them for non-college credit, so anybody can take. The most exciting course that we offer is the chemistry of beer. There's about 9,000 people enrolled in it right now, but it's not about at what point, do you need to add, the wheat and barley or whatever, however it works. It's more about actually the chemistry of how it's made. So it all started with, there's a course out there called the Chemistry of Wine. And so it's grown into Sociology 1113. It's grown into about 24 other courses that are on there right now. Our provost teaches a course on constitutional heritage, things like that. And let me just show you just a video about Janix real quick, so you can understand a little bit.
The University of Oklahoma has a rich tradition of academic excellence and a culture of creativity. Through the One University Digital Initiative, we are driving innovation in higher ed. We want to enhance the student experience, using technology to connect, to share, to inspire. We want to open OU courses to the world. So we created Janix, an interactive learning community. Built in partnership with an Oklahoma-grown technology company, NextThought, who is pioneering the field of social learning. Janix is the first of its kind in open courseware. With Janix, students are able to share their notes, collaborate with fellow learners in real time, and view new short, high-quality lectures, all in one integrated space. Too often, lectures, books, and assessments are static. Janix adds a social dimension to the entire learning experience. You can annotate and embed discussions right inside the lecture transcripts. Students can globally search all course content, including notes, or visualize a concept to send to a classmate. By being a part of the community, students engage more actively in what they learn, thereby gaining more value and enjoyment in the process. All students will be engaging with OU's great faculty. Janix offers popular OU courses, such as Sociology, History of Science, and Introduction to Computer Programming. Faculty have also developed brand new, innovative short courses, such as The Power and Elegance of Computational Thinking and The Chemistry of Beer. And with open access through Janix, anyone can participate and interact in OU courses. Inspired by the Roman god of doors and gateways, Janix symbolizes the path between tradition and innovation for the 21st century. Introducing Janix, an interactive learning community. shaping the future of education.
So it goes back to what we talked about, the digital initiative, that this was the vision of our provost, our vice provost, faculty members, our president, and said we want to create something. So we didn't know, you go back to the simple things, right, of marketing. You know, how do you let people know about this? How do you do these kind of things? So I'll show you some pictures about that, but we introduced it into the store, into another area that we have in the store. So hopefully, here's a little bit of a section of the store that is the Janix area. In the middle TV, we have iTunes U clips playing. It could be a speaker, it could be part of a class, things like that. We have it on the iPads. We're changing it now because we're going to add it to where we're going to have a table, but we'll have iPads out there, we'll have laptops, and those are connected to the TVs on the back side to where when a student comes up and wants to play with it, we've got it in demo mode, they can see it. They could also, people can walk by and see the eye candy of the TV and check it out. I mean, really, it is. It's just an area that is in our retail store that anybody can come up and play with at any given time. And it's because it's hard to explain Janix. It's hard to explain an online course. It's hard to explain certain things. But we put that technology in their hands and said, well, just try it. You're not going to break it. You know, we've really looked at how we can open up people's minds. We have a lot of counselors that come through. And one of the suggestions I had is that, you know, is it possibly in the future that we all knew those kids that were extremely smart who started college before they finished high school, and I was just praying to get through high school and all that other stuff. But I said, you know, instead of them actually going to the campus, what if you gave them 3 credit hours for free? And so then whenever they came to OU, they already had 3 credit hours in the bank. You know you're going to get your money later because they're going to have to take an elective or something along those lines, but get them introduced into this online learning or online coursing and things like that. So it was very important that we have an area of the store that showcased Janix and showcased iTunes U, even though I will not lie to you, it's probably one of the hardest areas of the store to explain, or to get anybody to go play with and things like that. So we do have to have a lot of the gimmicks and the eye candy and things like that. We talked about digital textbooks. What we've done is we created a bookshelf in our store, and how this ties back to the library a second ago is that those are actually iPads. I found a company that created hardbound books that you could put an iPad in, and so we took some courses that had been taught, some books that had been written by our professors, deans, OpenStax, others that are just out there and that you can buy, and we actually replicated what a textbook would look like. So whenever students, faculty, staff, counselors, moms, dads, everybody, they walk up to it, they think it's a book and they don't understand why you have this in a digital technology store, and then they open it up, it's an iPad. And I always tell them the story about my son, who is going to be a sophomore this year at OU, and whenever he started at OU, he didn't know, did he want a laptop, did he want an iPad, I don't know. Everybody's giving me 2 different directions on what to go and all that type of stuff. And so I always told him, I said, you've got to look at it this way. Is this your backpack of the future? Is this what we're really, truly doing on campus or in your universities or around the world in getting students to say, you know, the kid on the left, that backpack that he's carrying, is it actually just going to be a kid walking into a room with an iPad? And so we just show it in a different way. Everybody's carrying it, not everybody. Majority of people are carrying iPads or tablets or some other device, but when we show it to them in a different way, to see how superintendents say, I said, you know, if you hand an iPad to a kid, they are going to think games and videos and all that other type of stuff. But if you hand it to them where it says British Media Studies by Dean Foote in our College of Journalism, and you open it up and it's got his book and 15 other books in there, does that change your conversation? So we have it out there. I'm not going to lie also again, because I'd never lie because I don't have to remember anything. It is extremely hard to keep them charged because we forget about it, because it's another one of those areas that nobody's really excited to go to. But what we want to do is we want to tell people what the future could be, and guess what? The library is the one who can teach you as faculty member Joe to go and write your textbook. We had a father who, the week after we opened, he contacted me and he said, I saw your iBooks section over there, and my daughter says that I need to buy this physical chemistry lab manual that's $250. He said, but I saw one of your books over there on an iPad. He said, where did you get that? And so in typical fashion, I just said, I don't know, because I asked a student to get it. So I had to get into D2L, which I had no idea I had access to. And I got on a conference call with this father and this daughter, and we found the lab manual. And so they said, you know, you saved me $250 that I didn't have to buy. And so I asked the daughter, I said, do you have an iPad? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, then you need to find out what other textbooks you can get online for free, or whatever else is out there that we have on D2L and things like that. And so the father was just extremely excited because he said, you know, here I am paying this out-of-state tuition, I'm leaking money like a sieve, and you saved me $250. And it was all just done because in the store where we'll sell you a Kate Spade cell phone case, we've also got iBooks. So
I was able to replace my regular textbook with one that's available free and online. My students can access it by using a laptop, downloading it to their iPad, or even their phones. But it's not just me. The entire University of Oklahoma is working diligently to lower the cost of education for our students. My name is Kelly Dampus, and I'm part of One University.
And so what we have going on in the store is just one of those videos. That's our newly appointed dean in the College of Arts and Sciences. And it just tells the stories. We tell stories all day long about things that are happening on campus, because what we found is that as the kids come in to visit OU with mom and dad, it's not so much about a recruiting trip for the football player who's going to be the running back for OU, and it's a family decision. With the cost of education, we know that it's a family decision on where that child or mom or dad or whomever that's going to be attending university, on where they're going to go. So part of our mission is that we have to explain what we're doing. So we do have TVs. We've got about 12 TVs in the space that are playing different videos at different times. And that's just one of them where we do have, when the student comes back after their tour, we give them all a $15 gift card to come in and buy something, right? But then mom and dad walk around and visit the space and visit the store. So this is an opportunity for our students to explain to mom and dad, hey, I'm Tommy, your sociology student, and let me tell you about my experience at OU. Let me tell you about what I'm doing here and show you some videos or show you different things. And you'd be surprised. I mean, you're probably thinking, oh, yeah, you're full of crap. Nobody really wants to watch these videos and all this other type of stuff, but they really do. We've made the place so exciting, I guess is the best way to put it. There's always something going on. I don't have any pictures of it, but we've got right now some Philips Hue light bulbs, and we made this cloud that never existed, that nobody ever knew about, but we made with acrylic rods, and we put some batting over the top of it, and it responds to music of thunder and lightning. And so now what we're doing is we're trying to tell the story about this cloud exists, but here's the technology behind it, things like that. So we're always doing something. Just it's always that what are they doing next kind of scenario that happens in there. Like I said, whenever we've got collaboration spaces, there's it was a slow spring break day in our union, but we've got these tables where students can come in, power up, they can work together. That was where the Jordan and a few of our employees were just designing the app for the store. So it's more of a place where people can come and hang out. They can eat, they can have meetings. We've got a demo space. Those look like Google couches, but they're really not. It's another 103-inch TV that you can use it at any time you want. We've had impromptu meetings. We've had workshops in there. We've done a multitude of things where students can come in and just hang out. We do have the Oculus Rift glasses. We usually have had it hooked up to the 103-inch TV. So students can come in, obviously play with that. We had faculty members that came in and have said that they've said the typical thing, I don't have any money. I'm glad you have these because now I can make a case for it. And like I said, if you want me to write a business case for you, you're in trouble. So really it's just about what's that emerging technology. We see all these Kickstarters, and Jordan will know what I'm going to say, is that we see all these Kickstarters and says, oh, we're 2 years out. Well, we're already up there. And we're fighting to get to this point because the students are asking for it not every day, but at least once a week. I always say to students, what do you want next? What is it that you want? I can't tell you what you want because I don't know what it's like to be a student in 2014. So they are the ones that I buy the Oculus Rift glasses and then I let them tear it up. I let them download the games. We've got kids who are learning to develop games from it, things like that. We have Google Glass. Google said, you can't have them, and I said, well, then that gives me the opportunity to buy 2 of them. So we have Google Glass, and the neat story about this is that obviously people are coming and getting to experience it, but then we had those students on campus who didn't have the money to buy them, and so they're writing apps, and they're coming in and using our Google Glass, hooking their app up to it to see if it actually works. So we're just another vehicle for these students to get out of the classroom, to try different things, to experience it in a different way possible. So it doesn't matter if they just want to swipe forward, swipe back, take random pictures and look all freaky, or if they actually want to write an app for it and do something with it in the future. We have Leap Motion. You can hook these up to 3D printing. We just haven't even gotten to the point of hooking up to our 3D printers yet because so many people are just amazed that you can come in and just use your hand and do different things with it. It's been great for the K-12 market to see what we're doing. Because as one of my good friends, one of our regents said to me one time, he said, the K-12 area is your feedstock. And so whenever the superintendent comes in, and I said, just imagine a child who has a hard time, learning or being able to, their skills with their motor skills with their hands and things like that. The next day we got an order for 80 for the Norman Public Schools, and I didn't care that I sold 80 of those. What I cared is that my daughter, who's in 7th grade, could possibly get her hands on this technology without coming to see Dad. And what will she inspired to be able to create or to say, that's why I want to go to OU. This is why I want to do things, because they're always on the edge of just showcasing this technology and things like that. And then we've got the 3D printing stuff where we've made trinkets and trash. We're trying to get out of that now. That's our big struggle right now is we're trying to get away from that. So we're doing some displays about what the future could be. So we're, to kind of tell you, we're taking like the scales of justice. We're going to go to Home Depot, buy a couple hundred screws and bolts, and then I'm going to print a couple hundred screws and bolts and show you the weight and try to put this into reality context. We went through my house the other day. I went through my house with my wife, and we were picking random things that we could make, that I could buy, take apart, remake those parts, and try to tell a story to the students or try to tell the story to the faculty or staff saying, imagine if your door handle breaks and for some reason at midnight you decide you just have to have your door working again or whatever, could you possibly 3D print it? So we just want to show possibilities because we want to get away from just making stuff. Here's one of our 3D printing workshops. We did, that's our business professor who was talking about what he's doing in his product development course. There was one of the gentlemen in the room, I'll never forget this, he raised his hand and he said, will OU ever offer a degree in 3D printing? And I kind of chuckled at it, but then I thought about how I had met a vendor who had come in who was a professional DJ. I was kind of shocked. I became a professional DJ by watching MTV in the 80s, but this guy actually went and got a degree in it, and I thought, well, why not? So I went back to our executive vice president and our provost, and I said, they've asked for it. Just because, not because we discovered 3D printing and we brought it to the world, but we brought it to our campus. And we brought it to somebody to say, well, why not? A degree in 3D printing. We also have a space called the Google Liquid Galaxy. This is really neat. If you've ever seen one, congratulations. If you haven't, I'm going to go ahead and say it. We're probably one of the first college campuses to have this set up in our campus store. It's 5 TVs that are hooked up to Google Earth, so you can go anywhere on the Earth, Moon, or Mars. And what has spawned from this is that this fall we will be teaching a 2,000 level GIS course out of this room in our store where I will sell you a mini DisplayPort to VGA cable. The students are going to come in and they're going to get there's about 25 iPads and they're going to do geo-tracking on campus. Then they're going to come back in, plug it into the Google Liquid Galaxy and do some triangulation, things like that. What happened from this also, another neat story, is that we had paid a company to 3D render campus. They did not want us to give it out to the free world, to the world for free. So we went back to a couple of our students and said, do you think you can use SketchUp and figure out how to 3D render campus? They said, sure. So they're probably about 20 buildings in right now, and I got a graphic design student who's going to go out and take pictures, and then they're going to texture the buildings, and you're getting those disciplines now to actually work together. You're getting a photographer to work with an architect and a wannabe computer science degree major, and they're working together on 3D rendering campus, and it's all done for free. Well, paying them like $9 an hour, but you get the idea. But it's a room that is a lot of fun. We get a lot of play out of it. We get a lot of faculty members who their department will not buy them this technology, so they send their students down. So it's always a revolving door. Right now, they are loading the alumni members from the College of Education. So whenever you pan out and you're on the Earth, you can go to China and you can see where our current alumni members are living in China and things like that. So the campus has found other ways to use it, and they come to me with the ideas and say, we want. So that's our Google Liquid Galaxy room. And that's it. I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions, comments. I apologize if I kind of jumped around a bunch. The keynote can't even keep my mind in place because I have a lot of tabs open up here. So I apologize if I jumped around a bit. But the last thing I want to say, it truly is. It's a space where there are no limits. There are no restrictions. It is run by the students. It's for the students. And it's been highly successful. So, yeah.
Does the profit from the store fund your toys, or?
It funds my salary. No, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. At the end of the day, we don't care if we sell one iPad or we sell 1,000 iPads. That's not what we're there for. Yes, we do have to sell things, but we let this technology and this idea and what's happening in the classroom and a student to say, you know what, all my other friends have iPads, and not go on the jealousy factor, but say, well, the classroom that I was in last semester, they offered an iPad for free for me to use, but I found a textbook for the next semester, so I need to go ahead and just buy that technology. So, like I said, it goes back to the whole, we still have our 2 stores. We have one across the street that I would sell you the shirt off my back if you wanted it, but over here we have a totally different conversation where we don't talk about buying anything. And we sell a ton of merchandise based on the fact that it's the gimmick on this side. I'm not going to lie. It really is. It's about getting people who want to come in and see 3D printing, and then they say, oh, there's the iPads, and whenever Apple does a pretty good job of telling you about a new iPad, they know where to go. Or if they just come in for the iPad, they say, oh, you got 3D printing, I want to check more out about that.
But do you have a budget to buy new technology with that comes from
Yeah.
school?
Yeah, sure do. Yes?
So, I know you say you don't have a vision.
Right.
But this really, all the videos really communicate very clearly what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
I'm wondering in terms of creating ebooks, I work with faculty to help them create content for their courses. How do you motivate them, incentivize them to do this work? Clearly the vision comes through very clear.
Right.
I'm sure that you get a lot of motivation that way. What other strategies do you have?
So we do have a space called the Center for Teaching Excellence. That's about 30 people. That's basically what they're there for. Is because, and my peer over here, Robert, knows exactly what I'm going to say, is that we're seeing a big shift at the university from, and when I say the old, I'm not talking about age, I'm just talking about the old way of teaching and thinking, right? So we're finding we have a new fresh set of deans that are young and inspiring and go into the faculty saying, we're going to try this together. We're not going to figure this out in 6 months. It may take 3 years. We don't know where we're going to end up in 3 years, but it's more of the inspiring them to think differently and to do it differently. We know that we still have to have that traditional classroom. You still have to teach English 11, 13 the way you do, but we give them just a bunch of the tools and the resources and just show them, like I just said, we can all say, well, go write an ebook. Well, what the heck does that mean? But whenever I put it in this neat little textbook-looking thing, and then the faculty members say, oh, I think I want to get into that. And we know we're not going to convert them all, and we don't want to convert them all. But we want to help convert the ones who want to do it and make that difference, make that change, excuse me. Yeah.
Along the same lines, you said your main, or at least I interpreted that your main goal is to discover technology. What would you say
There's a lot of jealousy from the faculty. When they see the Google Liquid Galaxy and they're like, well, my dean won't even buy me a a new computer, So there's some jealousy, but then there's some that what I always try to explain to people who don't understand is that I'm not here, and the stores are not there to make change. We're just to help to drive that change. It's already happening. So I do wait. For example, I talked to the College of Engineering a year and a half ago, and I just had a meeting with them last month. They finally said, we're ready to talk to you. Because it took them that long to understand what we were doing, what they wanted to do, and how we could bring the two together and help me tell their story in a different way. So I'm really, it is kind of crazy. I sit back and I wait for the faculty to come to me. But then, like you said, the students are the ones that are saying, I heard, or I went here, I went there. And the faculty come in and say, tell me about this Google Liquid Galaxy, because all my students are telling me about it, so I'm going to send them in here to do their Google Earth project. And so then the faculty comes in and watches it, and that's where the GIS librarian said, I just want to teach my class. I just want to teach my class in here. So that's one of the things that kind of happened, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah.
To what extent do you find that your student staff are driving the curious displays that show up?
I would say probably a majority of it. It's I kind of do the whole Apollo 13 thing. I throw a bunch of parts out on the table and say, okay, let's build it, boys, and bring them home.
You see your role as a mentor.
Exactly. Not the, I am, like I said, criminal justice. I am not your technology solution right there, right? I am nowhere near that, but I'm the one who just kind of pushes that envelope a little bit more and says, we got to do something different. We got to make it better. For example, real quick, the Google Liquid Galaxy. Students wanted to figure out how to take the Leap Motion, put it on there so they could take the Earth and move it on their hands and things like that. We didn't have a way to mount the Leap Motion. Nobody makes anything until one of the students says, well, I can design it. And then the other student said, well, I'll print it. And we're all like, well, the hell, that just happened. So it really is. It's the students who just say, here's what we want to do today. And I always just say, go for it. And I love it when things fail, because then that makes the students even try harder to make it work. And then they get to the point where they're like, you know what, the technology just isn't there yet. But we're still telling these great stories in the store. Even when they fail, I love to show things that fail to everybody. So, right there. Oh, I had two of them pointing at me. So,
Could you talk about how your team is structured? You obviously have retail staff. You have marketing design folks.
It's all done by committee. So there is on the retail side the people who worry about, when Apple announces a new computer today, we've got to go unload 200 of them. And how do we do that type thing? But then it really boils down to myself and Jordan, who works for me, a full-time employee, and then students. And what we're going to do this next semester is I've recruited a student who's getting her master's in education, and her sole purpose is going to come in and teach courses, new to Mac, new to iPad. She is doing instructional reading, master's in instructional reading or something like that. And one of our full-time employees, her son has a hard time reading in first grade, so she's going to bring her classroom in, and she's going to do that. So she understands how to do the teaching aspect of it and all that type thing. We're going to use a couple of our students and pull them out from selling iPads to actually saying, what do you got for me to do today, David? And I'll say, well, stand there and look good, or guess what? We're going to go tear up the Liquid Galaxy because of the crazy idea we found and things like that. So there's not a lot of, it's a very flat organization. I believe that to be successful, I have to let the students do more of it, and I just come up with the idea, or I have to go and ask for the money. And just smile real big and say, hey, it's okay, we can afford this. The fiscal year's coming up, we found new money. So it's a neat place. It's a neat place. Yeah?
Question, 3D printing, do you charge to print?
The actual cost of 3D printing anything in our store is free. We don't charge a dime, because we go back to the whole gimmick thing, right? Is that we only have 2 slots a day, 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock, and I'm getting down in the weeds. You can only print it for 4 hours, and you can only be a certain size. And it costs us about $2, if even that, right? But what it does is that if you wanted to make the OU logo, you learned how to take it from 2D to 3D because it didn't exist before we started all this. And so while it's printing, I got Jordan who walks in off the street and he's like, what is that? So I'm winning on both ends. So the cost of it is nominal, because my goal is to get those students to want to come to OU. because I really like my job, and I need that tuition money. I'm not going to lie. You know, we need those students to come to OU and say, and then to go back to our director of recruiting services, and he says, you know what, we got more kids applying than ever. And it's a long, long, long hill we got to climb. But that was why we just said, do it for free. There's no reason to charge for this. Because I'm not going to lie to you, it would have been a nightmare to figure it out, and how much do you charge for this and how much do you charge for that. And in the end, I won because the School of Fine Arts is charging, and I'm over here as the hero saying, man, they let you print for free. You may have an appointment 4 or 5 weeks out, but they hold their appointment and they come back. So, yeah.
Are you familiar with the makerspace movement, and how does this relate to that?
Yeah, you know, I'm familiar with it, but I just don't pay attention to it. You know, I mean, we just do our own thing. You know, I got a lot of, last week I had a lot of schools come from the K-12 area, and so we're going to open up our makerspace, and they said, we're going to do this and this and this, and I was like, that's great. You know, I'm not going to lie to you, we don't pay attention to it because I don't want to, because I want to make sure that whatever it is that our school wants and our kids want, that I'm just going to give it to them. So, I mean, I'm not, yeah.
I'm curious if anyone on your campus has collected any data on student achievement or engagement as a result of your initiative?
No. But you know, but to go back to the College of Engineering discussion, right? Is I was talking to the dean and I said, "What's your biggest problem?" And he said, "Getting women in engineering." And I said, "Okay, then let's figure out how to get women in engineering because the campus tours come through the store every day. And so if I can show 3D printing, or I can show Oculus Rift classes, or I can show coding in a different way, and all this other type of stuff, and if that 18-year-old girl is standing there saying, I want to go to school here, then I can go back to the dean in 2 or 3 years and say, give me some numbers on your female enrollment. And I'm rolling the dice. And if he says, hey, it's up 15%, I'm taking credit for it. I'm taking credit for it. But it does. But it goes back to the marketing aspect. It goes back to working with the college and having this long-term vision and things like that. So, but I will take credit for it. All right, thank you guys very much.